Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking a lot about Fallout 76. A pretty significant piece of information has come out about that game. It's been speculated on for quite a while, but Fallout 76 will not be available to buy on Steam. Rather, the game is going to be available to buy and exclusively only on Bethesda.net. We've seen other publishers make their games exclusive to certain platforms, so this isn't anything major, but Bethesda has been a significant fixture over on Steam, so this is something new for them, although a lot of people have been playing The Elder Scrolls Online on Bethesda's own platform, so it's not completely new, but for one of their mainline games, this is a little bit new. On top of that information, which I'll be talking a lot about because I haven't really talked about Fallout 76 on this channel yet, so I'll definitely give my input on my thoughts on the game and everything else. I also do want to talk about what Epic CEO said about microtransactions and why happy customers contributing towards microtransactions are the best funding a company can get. I want to read his quote, talk about Fortnite, and talk about a real-world example of somebody that I met that gave me an idea on how big these battle royale games are getting and how much revenue they're really generating. Because sometimes in our smaller scope hardcore gaming community, we get things a little bit twisted compared to what they are in the real mainstream world. More on that later. First, I want to talk about Fallout 76, the game being exclusive to Bethesda.net, and I do want to talk a little bit about the beta first. Let's first talk about Fallout 76 not being released on Steam. Now, to me, this is very disappointing. If you guys follow my channel, you know how I feel about games not being released on Steam. It's not the fact that it's not available on Steam, it's the fact that I personally can't have all my games on one platform. I just like the ease of use of having all my games on one platform, buying them all from the same place. It just gives it a little bit more of the consoleized simplicity, which I think is something that the PC has been excelling on, really making it super simplistic instead of releasing games on a variety of different platforms. Yes, it's absolutely not rocket science to figure out what platforms these games are being sold on, but as you can see, with platforms like the Windows Store, with platforms like Origin, Steam, now we have to use Bethesda Store. I think segmenting these games to different platforms, the only thing it's going to change is the visibility of the game. In no way can I see game segmentation actually helping the game. Maybe in a roundabout way it helps out the publisher because they get to keep the majority of the funds, and in turn they can invest more money into that game. That's very roundabout, and I don't really think they're going to get that much extra revenue. Rather, I think Bethesda would rather be in full control of their game releases rather than having that middleman in Valve, and I can see that from a publisher's standpoint. It's just that as a consumer, that doesn't appeal to me all that much, and from a visibility standpoint, I really can't see how Fallout 76 being exclusive on Bethesda is going to help its visibility opposed to being on Steam. I do think the game being released exclusively on Bethesda.net will negatively impact the game sales. I don't really see how you can argue otherwise. I feel like Origin has done a good job in retaining the majority of its user base with games like Battlefield, but there are other games like Mirror's Edge Catalyst and A Way Out that I do think would have performed better commercially had those games been released on Steam. Obviously, there's no way of knowing that. That's a what-if scenario that'll never come to fruition, but in my eyes, I just don't see how negating that gigantic consumer pool that's available on Steam is helping the game's visibility at all. It's not. But as I mentioned, we have no way of actually comparing a world where these games were released on Steam versus them being exclusive to Origin. We just have the information available to us, and my interpretation is yes, while Battlefield is still selling very well, I foresee that the game would be doing better if it was available on Steam. That's just my opinion. But let's talk about Fallout. The Bethesda single-player games have always been a gigantic fixture to Steam, and we know that Fallout 76 won't be released on Steam, but if you're telling me that this isn't opening the door for future Bethesda titles such as The Elder Scrolls 6 as well as Starfield, and every other Bethesda game coming down the line, I think you're kidding yourself. I do think it's going to be a norm. I think if Fallout 76 does well commercially enough, then Bethesda's going to be like, hey, we don't really need Valve anymore. Let's keep all the revenue to ourselves. Even if we take a slight hit to sales, the fact is, because they're selling their games directly to the consumer, Valve as the middleman is not taking the cut of the game. Bethesda can say they have full ownership of the game. They have full control of what's going on. And as a publisher, I could definitely see why that would be appealing. And whenever I talk about controversial topics like this, I like to take the point of view from the publisher as well as the consumer, so that's my publisher viewpoint. From a consumer viewpoint and seeing what I've seen about the game, it seems like Fallout 76, unlike every other recent Fallout game and Bethesda game in general, when you look at Fallout 4, The Elder Scrolls 5, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, I feel like Fallout 76 ahead of all of those games has had a much more mixed reception. It just looks like a lot of the same from Fallout 4 in terms of design. Of course, you're adding in that online component, but I feel like not all gamers are sold on it. It's very good in theory. Todd Howard saying that the game is going to be 4 times in size than Fallout 4. Yes, that's very good in theory, but I have my doubts about how that is going to be translated into Fallout 76. And going back to the big reveal at E3, what I always associated Bethesda with are those jaw-dropping moments. Bethesda, unlike any other publisher, maybe I'll put Rockstar up there with them. And I think this year at E3, Fallout 76, it just got, okay, it's more Fallout, I really can't hate on it, but we just got Fallout 4 3 years ago, and with Bethesda games, 3 years is just not a significant gap, and I think with how Bethesda tried to sell the game, Fallout 76 was looked at as a new Fallout game, not like New Vegas where it was clearly just a side game. And remember, New Vegas was just released a year ahead of Skyrim, so everyone had the idea that New Vegas is kind of just a filler game and that Skyrim was coming down the line. With Fallout 76, this is the main game, and how I think Bethesda duped a lot of people, and I saw this from a lot of casuals, is because back at E3, they not only showed off Fallout 76, but they capped off their press conference by showing off Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6. I remember getting text messages from people saying, oh my god, dude, The Elder Scrolls 6 was just announced, I am so hype, and then I had to break it to that person, dude, there might be a 50% chance that we're both going to be dead before The Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. Now, obviously, that's a little hyperbolic, but you get the idea. The Elder Scrolls 6 is a long way out, as is Starfield. Todd Howard specifically said that those are next generation games. Fallout 76 to me is capping off this generation of Bethesda's game releases, and it's just not something that entices me as much as Skyrim did, not even as much as Fallout 4 did, and maybe that's because Fallout 4, while it was an okay game, it wasn't up to the Bethesda standards that I am used to. I know there's still a lot of longevity in that game, but after some of the DLC content, I was just a little turned off from Fallout, and 76 just looks like so much more of the same, and being already on the fence, now with the game being exclusive to Bethesda.net, honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to impact it all too much commercially. I know a lot of my audience is going to be disappointed by this news, but I think all this news is doing is adding to that negative stockpile that Fallout 76 was already getting. Still, it's Fallout, and from the majority of people that I'm talking to, it seems like they're really excited for the game. I just can't say that I agree with them in sharing that level of anticipation. Yes, I'll check it out, but honestly, I don't know that this is going to be a game that's going to define 2018 gaming for me. It's just going to be one of those games that I check out, and really going to be one of those filler games, and for me to say that about a new Fallout game, I thought that day would never come. So yeah, I know that's going to be a little controversial. I know a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me on that. I hope I'm proven wrong. But moving on from that, I also wanted to give you guys the news about the Fallout 76 beta that will be beginning in October. And the Fallout 76 FAQ page was recently updated, and here's the question: is the beta going to be the full game, and will my progress carry over to launch? And the FAQ specifically states, our current plan for the beta is it will be the full game, and all of your progress is saved for launch. We hope you join us. So that's pretty cool for someone like me that's not completely sold on Fallout 76. The beta is going to be the full game. I'll be able to get a taste of it, and then I'll go from there, and I'll give you guys more of an update on what I think about the game. But as of this point, not completely sold, and the game being exclusive to Battle.net certainly doesn't help my enthusiasm, but I know for the majority of gamers that are excited for Fallout 76, it's honestly not going to make too much of a difference. Unless Bethesda's client suddenly becomes the Windows 10 store, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. And moving on from that, what has become a big deal are Battle Royale games and microtransactions, and Epic Games, who are the owners of Fortnite, of course, they have profited huge off that game, and Tim Sweeney talked a little bit about microtransactions in games, and I want to read this quote for you guys. Here's what he says: as far as the success of Fortnite, that's the best type of funding a company can get. Microtransactions from happy customers. We're heavily reinvesting. Based on Fortnite's profit in the underlying game, we're building our team, adding features, starting a lot of long-term initiatives that will bear fruit in the coming years. We have competitions, events, and opportunities to win real money. We've announced $100 million in prize pool money coming in the next 12 months. This is a great boon for Epic. We have unlimited ability to invest in our technology, our games, and all the ecosystem around it. And for a long time, I understood the fact that Fortnite was the biggest game in gaming. I got that based on the commercials, the billboards, but it really didn't hit me how popular this game was, how invested people were into this game. When I was getting a cut at my local barber and we were just talking, he knows I'm a little bit of a gamer, and he always brings up Fortnite. This is a guy that bought a PlayStation 4 and literally only plays Fortnite. He bought a PlayStation 4 to play this free-to-play game, and we're talking about microtransactions and how much he's invested into the game, and then he hits me with, I dropped over $2,000 in the game and I can't be more happy doing that. And then we talked about how much money that is. That's so much money to be dropping into a free-to-play game that is over the course of a year. year, but still $2,000, that's a lot of money. And then he just told me, dude, I'm getting enjoyment out of Fortnite. Getting these skins, it gives me enjoyment. I put so many hours into Fortnite, and then I kind of got it. This is a game that he plays 8 hours a day. Yes, I still think $2,000 is a little absurd, but then he told me a lot of his boys are the same. Maybe they haven't dropped $2,000, but they've dropped hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, and they all don't regret it because they get so much joy from Fortnite. And again, Fortnite is the only game they know. Could you imagine if I just went into the barbershop, he's telling me about Fortnite, and I'm like, dude, you gotta drop Fortnite, you gotta play this game called The Witcher 3, it's the greatest game ever. He would have looked at me like I'm crazy and I'm a loser. That's just how it is with Fortnite, and it really just hit me how big this game is and how much revenue it's drawing. I knew the numbers, I knew the statistics, but actually somebody hitting me with their real life story of dropping that much money into Fortnite kind of put everything into perspective, and I just think it's incredible. Is it something I'd ever do? I mean, I dropped hundreds of dollars into League of Legends, and considering I got so much enjoyment out of the game at this point, I don't really regret it. And I imagine it's the same thing with Fortnite, but to me now it's just like so many more people, and Epic Games is really making a killing off of it. If you're wondering why there are so many Battle Royale games coming out, well, at the end of the day, it comes down to it's a business. They're trying to make a lot of money. Fortnite's making a lot of money, and if they can make even 5% of what Fortnite is making, they will be absolutely happy. So I wanted to share that story with you guys. I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. It goes together with this quote, and I just thought it was really interesting. But that's gonna conclude this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on Fallout 76. The game will not be available on Steam. It will be a Bethesda.net exclusive. Does that turn you off at all? Were you on the fence about the game like me, and maybe that turns you one way over the other? Or is it something you were already excited for Fallout 76? It's more Fallout. You can't get enough of Bethesda open world, and what platform it's on really doesn't bother you at all. I see a lot of comments like that when I complain about the Windows 10 store. People saying, dude, you gotta stop complaining, just download your game and start playing. And maybe you guys are right about that. Maybe I do make it a bigger deal than it is, but with the Windows 10 store, I do not think I'm making it a bigger deal. I mean, you look at the game sales of those titles, you look at how dead those games are. Those games deserve to do a lot better commercially. So I think with the Windows store, that platform is stifling game sales, but with Bethesda.net, we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on Fortnite as well, and that story I told. If you know anybody similar to that, would love to get your input on that. And also leave your requests for future videos in the comments section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. This video is brought to you by the new Humble Monthly. Get Tales of Berseria, Sniper Elite 4, and Staxel for just $12 along with the rest of the bundle that's gonna unlock on the first Friday of September. Alternatively, if you don't want any of those early unlocks, you can get Rise of the Tomb Raider instead as an early unlock ahead of Shadow of the Tomb Raider's release in September. And once again, if you decide to get Rise of the Tomb Raider, the rest of the bundle will unlock on the first Friday of September. Just $12 for all that content, and on top of that, you get access to the Humble Trove and 10% off everything in the Humble store. Check out the link in the description box below.